that's what's so great about this country, which is, well, if they choose to ban people and it's bad enough, people like you could say, hey, let's start our own social network and go start your own competing social network. They may have just opened up the door.
This is Rhodium Radio, a place where we explore ideas and challenge your worldview. For more episodes, go to rhodiumradio.com.
America is a theocracy. God is money.
Most information these days is being weaponized.
I think Chris used to deny climate change. He acknowledges it, but he's not sure it's man-made. Is that accurate?
We like to act like science is this perfect thing, but science has been wrong a lot.
The wealth gap is not sustainable. You're going to end up with a revolution on your hands.
In today's episode, we're going to dive in on the topic of banning people from social media. Alex Jones, Louis Farrakhan. I mean, who's next? Is this a war on hate speech or free speech? Is it justified just because companies are not the government and they can do whatever they want? And will this become more and more of a partisan issue? We've got a great show. But before we jump in, I want to thank our sponsor for today's show, Sway Hammocks. Sway has found the cure to a much dreaded disease, CBS, cold butt syndrome. Have you ever tried to go camping and suffered from CBS? Well, Sway has found the cure. Sway's fully insulated hammocks are made of 800 fill down to keep you warm and cozy. And with the hammock, you get straps, you get the rain fly. Not only that, it saves you weight. You don't have to take a sleeping bag, a pad, and a tent. Sway's comes in right at under 3.5 pounds. So get your Sway hammock today at swayhammocks.com. Use code Rhodium for 20% off. That's $100 off. And then go post some pics of you on social media, because I don't think they're banning pictures of us camping yet.
Oh, so we're starting off with Facebook?
Whichever one you want. Let's do it.
All right. So if you've heard, recently, Facebook, in an attempt to be, I don't even know, listen to the public outcry of their failures, banned a number of people from posting on Facebook. Alex Jones of InfoWars, Louis Farrakhan of Nation of Islam, I don't know if it's Milo or Milo Yiannopoulos, former Breitbart editor, Laura Loomer, Paul Joseph, who was an editor for InfoWars, and Paul Nealon, who is a white nationalist / neo-Nazi. Oh, as well as InfoWars as well. So I kind of have a couple questions about that. One, like, on what basis, on what grounds are you banning these people? Because, I mean, Facebook is full of people who spew the same nonsense that they spew. What constitutes dangerous speech? What detrimental actions has their speech caused that warrants them being sanctioned? Who decides who gets banned, and what's the criteria? Another thing is, like, remember that Coast Guard who was planning on killing all those liberal people? He had like guns and had a hit list or whatever. He got released from jail because his lawyer argued that, well, I mean, things that he said, the president says those same things. And the list that he had was a list that any Fox News watcher could have. So on what grounds is he being held as a terrorist? And he got out based upon that. So, again, on what basis do you ban these people when you have someone in the White House who uses similar speech?
So, Chris, you'd probably say, well, they're a private company, they can do whatever they want.
I don't even need to be here. 100%.
When has the free speech in society not been managed by companies managing the media? Newspapers since bygones have always been a private held company.
And this is, I believe, one of my still complaints with liberals is they try to blend or blur the line between government and private industry. And so it would be just like gas stations are allowed to ban people without shoes or shirts, correct?
Yeah.
No shoots, no shirts, no service. How is that? Why is that not a problem?
Well, partly, I mean, Facebook is so big, it's so large.
That's the argument I can handle is there is a somewhat argument like, well, they're the only place that you can go for social media. But like, that's what's so great about this country, which is, well, if they choose to ban people and it's bad enough, people like you could say, hey, let's start our own social network and go start your own competing social network. They may have just opened up the door. In fact, I forget his name, but there's some guy I follow on Twitter who's super conservative. And he, before this ban, had started saying, it was with all the stuff going on with the Russia and Facebook. He's like, why are we doing this? Let's just start our own network and just abandon Facebook. So it's like, that's the beauty of America, is you can go do that. So if you're that upset that Farrakhan got it,
first of all, did I say that?
oh, I was just picking anybody randomly. It's not like you and I had already talked about this. If you're that upset that, Alex Jones got banned, just go to some other social network.
Right, but that's not an option. It's not an option. You're just saying that it's not really an option.
It would be if enough people were upset. I would tell you, honestly, and if the government had gone to Facebook and said, we think you should ban these people, and like Facebook had a hearing coming up about some monopolization and they banned them, I would be the first to be like, this is out of control. To me, like, Facebook did it on their own, listening to a lot of their constituents that these people are out of control, and I think they were out of control. And I do think most of those people are inciting hate. And I'm not a fan of like the Minority Report type policing, like, hey, let's arrest them before they do the crime, like this guy you mentioned. I don't think you should be arrested before you commit a crime. But I do think that if you're given a voice by another person, that person has every right to take away that voice. So that could be a church. Jared, they ask you to come preach. You spew a bunch of nonsense. You say, hey, I'd like to come back and preach. They go, no, it's because of the nonsense you were spewing last week. I don't see how it's any different.
But again, you talk about inciting hate. Your example, Louis Farrakhan, what hate has he incited?
I'll look it up. Jared, you tell us your views.
So, this kind of started off last week because I was thinking, this stuff drives me insane, right? The banning of people. And I just wish more would understand Facebook is run by extremely socialist-minded individuals. You saw one of the fellow co-founders write this op-ed in the New York Times. I think his name's Chris Hughes, Chris Hedges, I don't know, something like that. Anyway, he challenged Mark, you're a danger to the free world. You should break up Facebook. And he responded, Zuckerberg, no way, I'm not doing this. But it's like, it's so intertwined with so much power now. Mm-hmm. It's shocking. It's shocking that many things end up the way they do. Meaning that some of these companies are run by such liberally minded people that conservatives can win elections. That's amazing.
Yeah.
The fact that Trump won based on what many argue was the power of social media is pretty shocking. Mm-hmm. Being that they're literally manipulating the feeds, they're hiding. I mean, we've had it on some of our posts. You try and promote some stuff. I think we had one on the Mark of the Beast, and literally it got kicked off. Now they're running basically a 48-hour window on the weekends where they're manually checking anything religious. This is based on some posts we tried to make recently. So,
See, that's kind of my thing.
Such a sour taste.
That's what I'm saying. So where's the line drawn? Because like I said, your posts, which are religious oriented, and they may be, rub some people the wrong way, but they're getting kicked off. Whereas all this crazy actual hate speech is being let through. Like I said, I see it all the time on Facebook, on the regular, and things are literally fake news. Like, it's literally lies that are disprovable with a 2-minute Google search. So that's what I'm saying.
On the conservative end of the spectrum?
Yes.
That's interesting. So you're saying even conservative stuff is getting through, and that's the problem.
Yeah, so that's kind of the whole what sparked this whole thing was the whole Russia issue for the most part. Mm-hmm. I think at least. They use that to manipulate our election system because the American public is not very bright.
That's the narrative, some say, right?
Yeah. Well, yes, that's the narrative, some say. People aren't very bright, so they see these fake things on the internet, social media, they believe it, repost it, and then it takes on a life of its own. It's like, but that's clearly verifiably false.
Is the argument of all these that were banned, are they all in the same camp politically?
No. Most are.
Which end?
Right wing.
The crazy end.
Christian extremists.
Yeah.
Only, I think.
Really, Christian? You'd say Christian.
I guess shouldn't say all, but a vast majority were.
I don't know if they're Christian or not, but they are right-wing extremists. Most of them tend to be in somewhat support of nationalist like white nationalist.
Which I'm like, that's what I don't understand. So let me make sure I understand. If Tim and I are on opposite ends of this, where are you? If I'm at the right end and he's at the left end on Facebook's ability, or
I don't know where you guys are at.
Let's just pretend we're on the opposite end. So you're a little bit more with Tim, is what I'm trying to get at. That's my question.
I think so.
Because what I don't understand is, do both of you believe like the rising nationalism is a problem in America and it's causing problems?
Yes.
I mean, yes. I would say yes.
Okay, me too. I would say, to me, it's like we really have a growing problem. And a private company said, we don't want to be part of giving that group a voice. Again, I would like, are we debating whether they should have the ability or whether let's say we all agreed they do have, that it's okay that they have the ability, but they shouldn't have banned these people because they're speaking the truth? Or
I think it's the guise of what they are, or what they say they are and what they really are.
But I think you're scared that if they ban these people, they could ban anybody.
Well, and they already are.
Yeah.
Shadow banning.
They do. They ban you if you send too many nude pictures, probably. Meaning you act like these are the first people to ever be banned from Facebook. No, they're the first famous people.
But I
guarantee you they've been banning people for a long time. You just didn't know about it. And now that it's inching towards people that maybe have extreme views and you're worried, well, I know people with extreme views. It's like, it's a private business.
But again, to me, the question is, what's the issue? Because now I know your argument, but we believe that you should have the ability to share your ideas, right? Now, when your ideas become harmful to others, I believe that's a problem.
The question for me really is Facebook being a social network something that they're prohibiting free speech? So we have a real life, right? Like we're all in the same room right now. It's real life. And we have a certain protection on our speech, right? When I'm in a public arena. If I'm walking down a street and want to tell people, worship the Lord thy God or you're burning in hell for 7 days, that's free speech and they can't come get me for that in most cases.
Yeah, in most cases.
We'll say, I know they work around it, but we would all agree we want to protect free speech. That's what I really think this debate is Facebook, who's a private company, but it is like kind of like a world platform. In America, are they restricting free speech? That's really what you're more debating, I would think.
Yeah, okay, let me take the word you use, platform. They're not a platform anymore. They're a media company with an agenda. That's what I would argue.
So any media company has free speech. Like if Fox News, if Bernie Sanders said, I demand to be on Fox News, you're telling me if Fox News said, no, we don't want to put him on there, you would think that's absurd? They're a private company.
I would say they're a town square.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to decide.
They are a town square where people share ideas, gather together, have groups.
That's the image they have, but I don't believe that's their reality.
I don't believe that's reality either because it's a business and town squares aren't businesses.
No, I can agree that might not be the reality of what they are, but that's what they're supposed to be. And so as such...
Why is that what they're supposed to be? They're a private business. They could be whatever they want. Next week, they could be something totally different.
But I think that's their brand is what he's saying. That's what we all want them to be.
They can
think
sell you
they
that.
are, but that's not what they are.
I might even agree with that. We're arguing. I guess let me even clarify. Are you telling me that like the government should step in and say, hey, you can't ban those people?
I'm just saying that I don't agree with it. That's what I'm saying.
I know, and I'm asking what are we debating? I know you don't agree with it. I'm debating, I think they should be allowed to ban anybody they want. They're a private business.
I think it's suspicious,
No,
though.
I might agree with you they shouldn't have banned certain ones but
that's kind of my thing. Going forward, how are we navigating this? Like who's getting banned and who's being allowed, and what are we supporting by doing that?
That's the typical liberal view. Let's get the government involved.
Who said this? Did I mention the government at all? I did not mention
that's
one time.
Okay.
I said who's being banned, who's being allowed to speak, and so what messages are we allowing to go forward, and which messages are we not allowing to go forward?
Who's the we in that sentence?
All of us, the people,
the population.
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, my point is, do you disagree that Facebook, even if the whole world came out and said, we are so mad at Facebook, they wouldn't have to do anything? They could ban anybody they want.
But people have power. We have power.
So you think it should be a boycott of Facebook?
I haven't come to a solution. I'm just discussing the issue.
I'm all about solutions. I think the solution is let them do what they want. They're a business.
I think my issue, it was probably a few months ago now, where all of them banned Alex Jones in a day. That's where you start to say, like, this feels like collusion.
Wait,
now it can be collusion among private companies, but it still is like, what's going on here?
But you weren't upset when all the major news networks also banned Alex Jones a long time ago.
Yeah,
From even showing him? I mean, they still talk about
No,
it.
from having him on the shows.
He's not news.
How often have you seen Alex Jones on CNN this year?
He's not news.
I haven't seen him at all.
No, not this year. No.
So I would just tell you, they also have a ban. They didn't announce it, but none of those reputable news networks are putting Alex Jones on their platform.
He's not news.
I agree, but why would Twitter? Oh, you're saying is Twitter's not news? It's just a platform. It's the town square is your argument.
Yes.
See, and that's where I disagree.
It's a business. It's not a town square. Town square is government owned.
The problem is now I feel like they're showing what they want you to see and not now you're a media organization.
Well, I agree
under the
with you.
guise of something else.
No, I agree. But I don't think that's a good thing.
Does Alex Jones
I
have a
agree.
right to show up to a church and talk? No, they could be like, get out of here. You're crazy. Well, that's what Twitter is. It's a platform. It's a business. It's a group of people. I can't even imagine a scenario that you guys would want the government or people to start saying you can't ban that person.
Again, so if I say something that you disagree with, then I should just be silenced because you don't agree with my sentiment.
On
Even
what,
if it may be true.
On Twitter?
I don't care where it is.
No, that's what the debate is.
Where does free speech apply if it's not on someone's media network?
But it's really interesting because America's gotten really confused about free speech. Because I would tell you that free speech to me it's protected in the public domain. Like you can say racist and anti-Semite things privately, right?
Yeah, well, privately, I mean, I guess you'd be walking down the street and say it.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Maybe it can be considered a
When
threat.
I say privately, in this home, I could say things that I don't think I could say out of here. And you'd say, but America has free speech. And it's like, do we? And I'm saying we should. And this is a new, again, like most things for me, I've become Mr. Free Speech. The idea that like even, I mean, there's certain, if you had a guy on a street corner, I would imagine using the N-word and, talking about eliminate, I don't think he would be allowed to do that. Am I wrong? I don't know. I mean, we have a president that does it, but
yeah,
I mean a regular guy.
I think you'd have people complain, and
I think you'd probably get arrested. They may not arrest you for what you're saying, but they might arrest you for loitering or being there without a permit. And that's where I'm like, no, we need to really protect that. And what we need to do is make sure that we, as private people, are calling out the people that use that free speech to incite violence or hate with what power we do have. So to me, one of those powers we have is banning them from Facebook. That's actually a power we have. I can't ban them from the town square.
You said people that cause what you said?
That incite violence or use like what I'll call extreme hate speech.
Right, and that's kind of one of my points. Incite violence.
Yeah.
So we've seen a lot of violence come from white nationalists. True or false?
Totally true.
Okay.
But we do make that group pretty broad to where you can say one of a million things like, oh, you're probably white nationalist. So
are you saying you are?
I mean, someone could probably accuse me of it. They're like, I heard him say this.
Who would you say has been shooting up these synagogues and whatnot?
Troubled youth.
I mean, if you were to say like 95% are white men,
Yeah.
okay, there definitely is a white problem. But are they all racist against tan folks? Okay, then it's a certain ideology. I think it's broader than that.
Okay.
Unless I don't know the data.
No, it may be true. So who would you say is doing most of these mass shootings and tagging people in the streets and whatnot?
I think the majority are white men.
Okay.
Is that right?
I would agree with that,
Okay.
yes. And so that's kind of my thing. So when we look at someone like Farrakhan, now he says some things that are definitely risque, right? But has he incited violence?
But that's not the measure Facebook used. They didn't use inciting violence.
I'm just asking a question.
Does he? I mean,
What violence has ensued because of words that Farrakhan has said?
I would say there's no evidence that anything he said has led to violence. I would agree with that. Doesn't mean it couldn't, but I mean, right now there isn't.
He's been speaking for quite some time.
Yeah.
So In theory, sure, it could someday, but it hasn't, to our knowledge.
Yeah, I agree. But again, I'm just saying, I'm just saying as a private person, I think we have a current problem in America where hate speech is being more and more accepted. And where we can, in the private realm, we should punish people for that.
See, okay, I'm going to disagree. I think the problem is we're calling more and more things hate speech.
Yes.
I feel like I should be able to say I don't like you and there's all the reasons why.
To me, that's just I agree you should have that right, and you do. But I also have the right not to hear that. I have the right, if you were saying that at my house, to go, Jared, you know what? I actually liked him even though he's black. Get out of here. I have that right, just like you have the right to say it. That's what it was on Facebook. A guy was saying something that the majority of Facebook users disagree with. And they said, get out of here. Just get out of here. It's like we want to take that away?
It's like at this point.
Like, yes, you have a right to say it. You don't have a right to be heard.
Oh, no. I don't think that's my issue of how we're meddling with these companies. Obviously, they're big and they control the public discourse. And we could boycott them if enough people would say, I'm willing to forego my pictures from the last 10 years. Let's take all my friends here. The problem is, I think as we look back in history, you see all these media entities and you believe free speech lived on them. The Washington Post, the New York Times. Now you start to see things come in and you're like, no, everyone's bought. So I think you start to feel like, does free speech even exist other than one-to-one? I mean, maybe in some public town halls and maybe a few churches, but there's an argument that we don't even understand free speech.
I agree.
Well, I disagree though. There's two levels. There's free speech that's guaranteed by the government. Well, and then there's publicly accepted free speech, and I don't think we should, as a public, I don't think we should put up with hate speech. And
right, but hate speech is what you deem.
What is hate speech?
I agree.
Like, for example,
as a society, we have to decide. I'll tell you, I've read Farrakhan. It's hateful. It may not be inciting violence.
Okay, but for example, in today's society, if you say anything in critique of Jews or Israel, you are labeled an anti-Semite.
Is that fair?
No, I mean, I think he's right about that, and I don't think that's right.
That's what's happening.
I agree. Again, we have to police political correctness. It is a problem. Like, I mean, you guys know me well enough. I don't like political correctness. Like, zero. Yes, we have to be careful. That's why these topics have to be debated and be solved by the general public, not by the government, because the government has shown they're the worst at this.
Problem with the general public right now is they're watching their social platform, which is manipulated by a few people. So it's really, you want to know the agenda of America, head on out to Northern California.
How many people do you think are on Facebook?
What?
How many people do you think are on Facebook?
I mean, it's like 2 billion.
Okay, and they banned like 12. You're acting like, oh my God, they banned everybody that was spewing. No, they banned one consistent group, which Tim has already pointed out, other than Farrakhan. Let's take Farrakhan out of that. That group is responsible.
But again,
Alex
you missed the
Jones
point,
in
though.
particular, he's been cited.
If you go back in history, everything starts small. Okay, they start with like what's that? Is it Nemo? I can't forget the name. The guy who talks about, first they came for this group. I did nothing because I wasn't part of that group. Then they came for this group. I did nothing because I wasn't part of that group. And eventually, they came for me. But there was no one for me to call upon because they'd taken everybody else already. That's what I'm saying. So you have to stop something before it gets out of control.
So I just want to make sure I understand. You think that Facebook either should not have had the right or should just have said, you know what, we're not going to ban Alex Jones?
No, I just think that's out of control in America in general.
Yeah, and you say, hold on, let's back up for a second. We just named some people who were officially banned. That's not all who's being banned.
Well, I agree with that.
Yeah, so you look up on Facebook, you can talk to people who have a small little following count. If they start talking about vaccines, I mean, there is limiting of that. You want to talk about what's the one? A flat earth? There's limiting of that. So it's all these issues are being limited.
It's not I would say that's probably not a new phenomenon. I mean, I don't know how radio worked back in the day, but before TV, before all this, you don't think the government, if somebody had started to spew hate on a radio, didn't step in and take away their FCC
That was a
license?
problem then. It's a problem now. So just because it was a problem, if we could allow it to happen before.
When Germany happens again here, I'll know who to come see. I mean, you guys act like, so in Germany, you should just let Adolf Hitler rise to power? Just let him rise? Hey, nothing we could do.
No, again.
Yeah, but I mean... The problem is it's just Hitler used the worst example, but right now, people are determining what is hate speech.
Private individuals, not the government.
But private is all
Government
we
can
matter.
start Facebook. They could do that. If you guys want a platform for all this, there is an easy solution. And again, I know we're debating. You're mad because I'm trying to get to solutions. Then what you should propose is that the government take some of their billions of dollars in tax money
Again,
and start a competing social network.
I never said anything about wanting a platform for all this.
It's not funded by ads.
I never said I wanted a platform for all this.
I don't think the government's the answer. You know, keep the government out.
But you're trying to have the government, it seems like.
Not the government.
Just us.
Just us. We have a problem where we think town hall platforms are fair. I mean, have you ever had somebody say, Chris, why didn't you comment on that post? Or people think everything you post I'm going to see as if they're all fair. No, they're manipulating the algorithms. They want to show you what they want to show you.
I agree. It's a business. It's like saying, it would be like me going down there to Walmart and like, hey, why don't you put the basketballs up front? I like basketballs. They don't do that because it's their business. I don't get to tell them how to run their business. Do you know how I get to tell them?
But it's a business that has gone beyond that realm. They affect society, as we learned in our last election. So you can't just look at it as, it's just a business. It's not benign.
But let's say the alternative was to break up the monopoly that is Facebook. And I actually would support that. I don't think they should have been allowed to buy Instagram. So I would support that. But I think we would find ourselves here. If let's say they didn't allow them to become a monopoly and there was 7 or 8 competing Facebooks, right? Wouldn't we find ourselves right here if one was rising to power because of hate speech? So let's say Alex Jones and all these super right-wing nationalists all went to this new there was a competing platform.
Yeah, they do already. It's called 4chan.
Yeah, let's say that, 4chan. And 4chan started to rise up. Wouldn't you guys get right here and be like, man, we got to do something? Like, it started to get out of control. There's school shootings every day because they're on there saying, we got to stop the march of the color.
Right, but again, it comes back to what I said originally. I believe it has to do with what type of violence your speech incites. Does your speech incite violence?
That's what I'm getting at.
That seems like a gray area.
But that's where I mean, what it seems like to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, your platform is probably the majority of those people, it was okay to ban them because they are inciting violence, because they're inciting white people to go shoot up schools.
I say two things. One, are you purporting verifiably fake information that we can go look up and say that's absolutely false?
See, but the problem with that is the places we go to verify stuff today are banned. So what do we say? I'm going to look up on Google, who is also run by individuals with similar ideologies and worldviews as Facebook, for my fact checking.
Give me an example. Give me an example of like a story that you think you would not be able to verify or would be falsely verified.
The Earth is round. Let's just throw it out there.
Sure. Yeah. If you went on YouTube right now, you would have fact checking of where to go find out the truth about the Earth, and they would adjust the algorithm to show you whether the Earth is round or flat.
Vaccines. Right? I'm the ones Jared would say, yeah, this is being censored. Like, I know, I just read an article. Like, they are definitely working on making sure that what they would call the right information gets out about vaccines.
You've got documentaries when art is being affected. So a lot of films now being taken down from networks that are talking about different issues. That just rankles every bone in my body. At the same time, I don't really like the idea of government coming in and telling businesses what to do. Now, when they get so big, you're like, well, tell them what to do, but don't come tell me, the little guy, what to do. But it is a problem when you feel like where I'm going to find truth, I don't know, Wikipedia, and you find out it's being manipulated.
That's why I think we come back to the best thing that can be done is break up the monopoly.
My question to you is, so flat earth theory, is that inciting violence?
I don't know, but it's sure being banned.
No, I know. But again, back to my thing. I have two criteria. Is it verifiably false news, and is it inciting violence? And then, so is flat earth inciting violence?
You're very particular with your things, but my question is, let's say those things are true. It's inciting violence, and it's verifiably false. I'm still asking you, because I think I know you pretty well, and if those things are true, do you want the government involved?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I just don't like the government, but I don't like the
government involved at all. But Tim is different than us. He wants the government very much in his life.
No, I don't want it very much in life, but there's certain areas that government is required.
There's a problem.
Hey, yeah. I know a place where the government's involved with the internet. It's a place, it's doing exceedingly well economically.
Oh, man, save it for another show.
It's China. They're very involved in the internet there. Wouldn't we agree they're more involved than here in America at censorship, which is what Tim seems to want?
Chris, again, you're being extreme. Again, I said two things. Is it verifiably false news, and is it inciting violence?
China thinks a lot of our news is false, and they ban it all.
Is it inciting violence? Again, I ask you, so we can go on a list. So, flat Earth, is it inciting violence?
See, the problem is, though,
but those are your measurements. Those aren't Jared's measurements. Jared's measurements are, is it true? This is why I don't want the government involved. What if they choose his over yours or mine over his? Everybody has a different definition of what the government gets involved with. And once you open that door, which, trust me, the government wants you guys to open real bad, right? The door to the internet. You can't close it. So today they'll use Tim's definition. Tomorrow they'll use what they believe to be true, which I think they kind of already do.
So here's an argument, though. This is one of the industries the government did not step into to regulate, right? And it's run by two companies, Google and Facebook. So you have an option where a duly elected people, and let's just assume they're all nice and fair and honest, running the government, who could regulate different parts of the internet. The problem now is it's all run by Google and Facebook. So whether you wanted the US government with its constitution, or have you seen the documents running these two companies, it's like, I don't line up with them.
So you want the government to regulate it like they do other industries?
I'm not saying I want to, I'm just saying
it worked out really well.
We may look back
like,
in
they
history.
They regulate the banking industry. Like that's working out really good.
But this
is involved like that.
It's thought, though. This comes down to what people think is true. These are two companies. They're telling you,
but I can't go start a bank. Literally, I cannot. I can go start any internet company I want.
I think you can start a bank.
I don't know. I can't even invest.
You got a lot of money.
An accredited
you get some
investor
guys
to do real investment. You have to be an accredited investor.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I don't think I could go start a bank. I know I could go form a group. I know. I mean, I'm just putting my financials out there. I don't have the money to start a bank, which the government requires.
Yeah, you're right.
Even like things like, this is my point. Like, I bet you, I don't know this, but do you think an ex-felon can start a bank?
No.
But they surely could start a competing social network. And I just prefer that.
No, I understand, but you just understand.
But when the government regulates, this is what they do. They regulate it all the way through. They open that door and there is no closing it. Hey, let's regulate Facebook. Great. Do we think ex-felons should have Facebook as a company? No, we can't have that. How about people that do this? No. How about anti-Semites? No. How about, it's like, no, right now I like it. And Facebook is our world. The internet is the world. Anybody's allowed to exist. And I like that about America. I hate that about China. That's what I like about America.
What is it about, though, Facebook and Instagram? Did we just allow them to get too big?
Yes.
There's not many companies.
Well, they shouldn't have been allowed to buy Instagram.
Well,
there's government involvement. Mr. Hypocrite over here.
Well, no, I'm for the government being involved in certain aspects. And one of their roles should be not allowing monopolies. Monopolies will end our country quicker than anything. I mean,
that's why everybody's buying everybody.
Like, to me, that's very clear. And they bought WhatsApp and Instagram. And I say it all the time. Look, and I used to say this before they bought Instagram. How does any of these large internet companies, like say Facebook or Apple, who's got $1 trillion, how do they have any competition? How could Facebook, and I believe they don't anymore, how could they let any company even be anything? The minute it's worth $1 million, buy it.
That's what they do.
And that's what they do.
And now they're doing it, and it's just horrible.
And that's the thing. And their efforts at keeping things fair or having security are non-existent. Just like, I don't know if you heard that story today about WhatsApp was hacked. Did you guys hear about that? WhatsApp, they had a security breach, and they were accessing people's information that was supposed to be, encrypted, but it actually wasn't, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough.
I'm not opposed. People whose argument is that, well, the government can't do anything well, so they shouldn't do anything, to me is a faulty, just a bad place to begin. Yes, the government does certain things poorly, but they're responsible to do some things. We need government in some things. It's just a fact of life.
But we could have solved this. We let this thing happen. We didn't want to get on. I mean, there were other social networks that tried to get off the ground. We didn't go jump on them. Like, it was this bandwagon. Now it's
but would it have mattered because Facebook would just buy them? That's why I do think, like, I agree with Tim, the government has to be involved in some things. We differ on the amount of things.
Sure.
But it wouldn't matter. I mean, we could have, right now, we can all go to a different one. It wouldn't matter. They would just buy it.
Yeah. I think it's the fear of missing out.
And like
We
I said,
would.
it is a real problem. We could talk about it on another episode, because I was saying to Tim the other day, the number one home builder in America is D.R. Horton. Number 2 and 3 merged like this year or last year. They still don't build as many houses as D.R. Horton. But I promise you, in a few years, D.R. Horton will buy a few. It's what's happening in America. It's going to ruin it.
Monopolies. There's the thing. Like when you have the chair of the SEC approve a merger of 2 gargantuan companies and then leave to go to chair their board. Like, come on, people. Like,
Yep.
what? That is the definition of conflict of interest. The definition. How do you allow it to happen? That's what's happening in America. America, every industry is run by 2 to 3 monopolies. That's bad for everybody.
Thanks for listening. For more episodes, go to rhodiumradio.com or look for Rhodium Radio in iTunes or Spotify or wherever you enjoy listening to podcasts. If you enjoyed this show, please give us your feedback via a review or even a 5-star rating. For more information and links mentioned during this episode or other episodes, just click the link in the episode show notes. And as always, a big thanks to our supporting sponsors, and thanks to you for supporting those sponsors. I want to say thank you to our production team who helps bring these episodes together each week. We'll see you next time.